And good afternoon. It is our regular Friday Lunch and Learn, and today we're going to talk about toxicity in our environment and what it will do to you at the cellular level. So if you are of a certain age, you're going to remember a slogan, are you calm, cool, and collected? And if you are of a certain age, you're going to remember what product that was the slogan for. And of course, if you're younger than that, you may not remember, but it was for an antiperspirant deodorant company. And of course, all of us want to be calm, cool, and collected, especially when we are under pressure. Now, what you may or may not know is that your largest eliminative organ is your skin. And so when you get stressed, when you are overly toxic at the cellular level, you are going to sweat more than normal. And trust me, nobody likes to sweat. I don't like to sweat, but I know it's healthy. And so we want to sweat when we're outside doing gardening, playing a sport, playing tennis, whatever. We don't want to sweat when we're just sitting here having a conversation. If you are somebody whose hands and feet sweat all the time, then what you are probably dealing with is some heavy metal toxicity, because that is a symptom of heavy metal toxicity. Now, we're going to be talking today about aluminum. Aluminum is a heavy metal. So most environmental cancers are dealt with, are caused by environmental pathogens, especially breast cancer. I think it's 75 to 80% of breast cancer is not because you have the BRCA gene. It is because there are toxicities in the environment, specifically aluminum. So we're going to talk about that. In 1971, President Richard Nixon went to Congress, got some money for the war on cancer. The war on cancer has been raged for 50 years. And sadly, I don't think we're any better, because cancer affects many, many people. So 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. So 1 out of every 8 women. That means some lady is diagnosed with breast cancer every 2 minutes. So breast cancer is the number 2 cause of death for women. I think it is secondary to heart disease. So that's something that we all need to remember. That's something that we all need to be aware of. If we use deodorant, if we use antiperspirants, we want to look for the ingredient aluminum chlorohydrate, because aluminum chlorohydrate is the offending ingredient. Now, why do they put that in there? Well, they put that in there because that aluminum is a caking agent. It plugs up the pores in your pits so that you're not able to get rid of the perspiration. Now, what you may or may not know is that the vacuum cleaner of your body is the lymphatic system. You've got lymph nodes right here in your neck. You've got them in the axilla, in your armpits. You've got them down your spine. You have them in the groin, and you have them behind your knees. So these are the collection stations that your lymphatic fluid dumps off whatever pathogens it has, and then your body gets rid of it, either through sweat or through your body processing the lymph through the liver, which is the way it is supposed to go. When you're using aluminum deodorant, what that's doing, it's clogging up the flow of the lymph. And so you've got all of that toxicity that goes right to the breast. Men can have breast cancer as well. I think the article said that there are about 2,000 men a year that will contract breast cancer. So it's not just women, although it is mainly in women. So when we're using the aluminum products in our deodorant, what we're doing is we are magnifying our chances of getting cancer, because breast tissue is lymphatic tissue. That means it has to drain. When we wear underwire bras that cup here and here, right? Of course, it lifts everything and makes us all nice and perky, but that wire stops the lymphatic flow. And so all of the pathogens that are in the breast stay in the breast. So we don't recommend that you do that. Now, what exactly is cancer? Cancer is the uncontrolled growth of abnormal malignant cells in the body. In breast cancer, it's malignant mammary cells that cause cancer that first start to grow unchecked in the human breast, okay? It is common for human cells to mutate and grow abnormally. But when the immune system is functioning properly, our bodies recognize this abnormal growth as non-self and then takes care of the problem in much the same way as a healthy immune system takes care of a viral or bacterial invader. Now, I'm going to tell you that while I agree with all of this, I do not believe that most people have a healthy immune system. Why is that? Because our food supply is so poor. Now, if you've been watching us for any time at all, you know that we have brought in this assessment tool into the clinic. Why did we do that? Because it is a down and dirty test. It takes 30 seconds. And what it does is it tells us how much of your food are you absorbing. And if you are absorbing your food properly, then you are going to be having the food that you eat turn into antioxidants. Antioxidants stop rusting from the inside out. And so when you have a good deal of antioxidants, then your immune system is working well. I'm just telling you, we've been using this device for about 4 or 5 months now, and I think maybe 2% of the people that come in are absorbing their food properly. So for that reason, I don't think that many people have an immune system that is functioning optimally. However, I do agree with the statement that when your immune system does function optimally, then you are able to detect the proliferation of non-self cells, and your body should go and take care of that. That is the way your body keeps itself healthy. Your drugs are not keeping you healthy. Your herbs and your supplements are not keeping you healthy. What's keeping you healthy is your immune system. Now, your herbs and your supplements are feeding nutrition into your body. So indirectly, they are helping you. But I'm not going to be able to give you an herb or a supplement that's going to take care of cancer. That's just not possible. What you are able to do is change your lifestyle, change your drama, change your foods, and then absorb the nutrition that you need. That will change your immune system, and that has a possibility of curing you from cancer. So we want to understand how all of this works. Cancer becomes a threat to our health when the immune system does not recognize these abnormal cells. So much has been made about the breast cancer gene, the BRCA1 and the BRCA2. These are inherited from our parents. There is truth in the literature that says if you have those genes, your incidence of cancer could be a lot higher. 13% of women in the general population will develop breast cancer. 55 to 72% of women with the BRCA gene can develop breast cancer. Okay, 45 to 69% with BRCA2 will develop cancer, according to the National Cancer Institute. So a lot of times when we see this, we're going to go to the doctor and we're going to say, I have that BRCA gene, take off my breast, so I'm not going to have to worry about cancer. Holistic people know that cancer is an environment. You can get rid of your breast. You can do all that you can do to get rid of that gene. However, cancer is an environment. If the body has an acidic environment, it has low oxygen on the inside, it really doesn't matter how much preventative things you do surgically, that environment, that toxic environment, is going to make the difference between health and disease. So just throwing that out there. I know that there are celebrities that have done this, and so people jumped on that bandwagon, but there is some other information here, okay? With that in mind, that people are cutting off their breasts, the mainstream media has largely ignored that the vast majority of breast cancer is likely environmentally, not genetically induced. Okay? Experts believe that approximately 75 to 80% of all breast cancer is actually due to environmental and lifestyle factors. These factors include hormone exposure, alcohol consumption, obesity, according to research published by the International Journal of Molecular Science. Other research has shown that endocrine disruptors, chemicals that change human hormones from the environment, including plasticizers, DDT, and other pesticides and herbicides, contribute to breast cancer risk. Now, I just want to talk about that a little bit because we know, maybe you don't know, but all of your commercial meat, all of your commercial chicken, all of your commercial eggs, all of your commercial dairy, all has in it hormones and antibiotics. Those hormones are estrogen disruptors, and so the more you have of that in your diet, the more susceptible you're going to be with cancers in your body. We do not suggest that women have soy as a food source. Now, why is that? Because soy is an estrogen disruptor. It is a xenoestrogen, and we don't want to have that in our bodies, especially if you're menopausal. Now, it affects your thyroid. It also affects your estrogen production and that kind of thing. So we don't want soy products at all. If you're going to have dairy, and I certainly do have dairy, I have organic yogurt almost every morning. I absolutely enjoy it. It's probably the only dairy that I have outside the occasional ice cream. I don't have creamer in my coffee or anything like that. I do have butter. I do cook with that. But as far as a milk product, when I do eat cheese, I make sure it's organic. When I do have my yogurt, I make sure it's organic because I do not want those hormones in my body. I don't want the antibiotics in my body. Now, with regard to breast cancer, aluminum, particularly aluminum in commercial antiperspirants, may also be a big player in breast cancer. Aluminum has no known use in the human body, but experts have found that it is toxic to many biological systems, including the brain and the kidneys. So how are you getting aluminum? Well, that's a very good question, and we're going to look at that. Several studies, 2002, 2003, and 2017, have linked aluminum and breast cancer, specifically the early use of breast cancer, especially the early use of aluminum-containing antiperspirants with the development of breast cancer. But these studies, while important, have been limited by their retrospective nature, small sample size, and lack of unexposed controls. However, in 2020, an international team of researchers led by Dr. Stefano Madriotto, I may not be saying that right, a leading breast cancer researcher based in Switzerland, designed a prospective study of research to see whether aluminum, especially aluminum in antiperspirants, was contributing to the explosion of breast cancer incidence in the recent decades. So what they did, all right, they took aluminum, the kind of aluminum that is in your antiperspirant, and they put it in the similar concentration that you would have in the antiperspirant. All right. The scientists found that the aluminum in vitro, meaning in an artificial laboratory-generated environment, not in a living organism's body, transformed healthy cells into cancer-causing cells. Then the researchers injected these cancer-causing cells into immunocompromised mice, and the mice developed tumors. Okay? Most breast cancer in women, okay, is environmentally induced. Scientists took that study and they modified it so that they could see whether aluminum exposed cells would cause tumors in animals with intact immune systems. Okay. At the end, the scientists cultured mammary cells or breast cells in an aluminum solution for experimentation. In the control group, the cells were put in just plain water. All right. They did that for a certain amount of days. It doesn't tell me how many days. They then injected the cells into normal mice that had healthy immune systems. 9 out of 10 and 8 out of 10 of the mice in those two groups that were injected with the aluminum cultured cells developed invasive carcinoma. Okay. At the same time, the mice in the control group had 0 incidences of cancer. So that was pretty definitive for this scientist. He and his team concluded that mammary cells are transformed in vitro by aluminum to form aggressive tumors in the presence of an intact immune system. All right. So that means even if your immune system is optimal, and how do we know that? We know that by energetic testing. We know that by how much of your food you are digesting and absorbing. We know that by a lot of different ways. On your medical test, and I'm sure that's what these scientists are using because they're medical people, when they're looking at your medical test, if you are within normal range on your medical test, they're going to conclude that you have a strong immune system. So that's the basis of these trials, okay? So these results suggest that there may be a clear and causal link between aluminum exposure and breast cancer tumors. The scientists emphasize that aluminum causes direct damage to the chromosomes, which makes it a likely mechanism for transformation of normal cells into cancer-causing cells. So this is really, really, really important. So where are we getting our aluminum outside of our antiperspirants? Now, if you're a smart person, if you've been following the science for years, I have not had antiperspirants in years and years and years and years. Why is that? Because I learned that the aluminum in there blocked up the lymphatic flow. I need good lymphatic flow so that I can be cancer-free. I do make my own deodorant. It's easy to do. There's lots of websites out there, but basically you need aluminum-free baking soda. Okay, you need coconut oil, extra virgin, organic, from the Philippines, in the white. It's white, it's solid at room temperature. You need some essential oils and you need some probiotics. It's easy. You get a little food processor, you do it all together, you put it in a container, and boom, you've got your own aluminum-free antiperspirant. You are going to sweat, but it's not antiperspirant, it's deodorant. You are going to sweat, but it will smell like whatever essential oil you use. So do something that is compatible with your body chemistry, okay? So the exposed aluminum that we get are in every major deodorant and antiperspirant, okay? Aluminum is also found in your processed food, including baking powder, coloring agents, anti-caking agents, and infant formula. Now, this just breaks my heart because we're exposing our children to aluminum, even aluminum foil. When you cook on aluminum foil, you're exposing yourself to aluminum. So that's just not really a good idea. I used to use aluminum foil quite a bit. Now I use parchment paper, and I find that it works just as good. Okay, so just take that into consideration there. Cooking acidic foods in aluminum pots may also expose you to higher levels of aluminum than if you cook food in stainless steel or glassware, according to the CDC. And I would agree with that. We have stainless steel, really good quality pots and pans, and we also have glass pots and pans. So, you know, make your choices. I remember shopping just a few months ago, and I wanted this popcorn popper because I like popcorn. But the base of it was one of those that had a hot plate, and it had the little arm that, you know, stirred up the popcorn so it would pop and that kind of thing. That's what I wanted. But the base was made out of aluminum. And so I decided to pass on that because I do not want to cook with aluminum, because I do not want to be exposed to aluminum in the environment. Okay, so how do you avoid aluminum? You read your list, ingredient list. All right, whenever you see any form of aluminum in the list, you're going to want to put that back on the shelf and avoid that. There is an app you can put on your phone, and I think the app is called Think Dirty. ThinkDirty. And you can put in your brand of whatever you're looking at, and it will tell you if it has carcinogens in there. So if you don't know a lot about what is healthy, what is not healthy, you can use that app. It is connected to the Environmental Working Group, which does a great job of listing all of the ingredients and telling us what our cancer exposure is. So that's something that I would definitely suggest that you do. You want to choose aluminum-free baking powder because baking powder will have aluminum in it. So you want to get aluminum-free. Baking soda as well, aluminum-free. You don't need that on there. They put that in there because it is an anti-caking ingredient. You want to stop using deodorants that have aluminum in there. You can make your own. I just told you how to do that. You can avoid aluminum cookware. Now, sometimes when I have been looking at cookware, it'll have some kind of ceramic, and then underneath that is aluminum, and underneath that is stainless steel. I personally don't want any aluminum in my cookware. That's just my own personal preference. So I avoid, if it has any kind of aluminum in there, I avoid it. It says it's best to not use aluminum pots, pans, and cookie sheets. Use glass baking dishes, stainless steel, cast iron, and we definitely believe in cast iron. Now, I'm just going to tell you, when I was in home ec, I know they don't do that anymore, I don't think, but back in the day, there was home economics, and they said that if you cooked your food in a cast iron skillet, that you would get iron because you're cooking in cast iron. Well, that's kind of correct. However, it's not an iron that is bioavailable. So if you heard that, if you cook in cast iron because of that, you're kind of wasting your time on that. Although I do like cast iron, but it's not going to improve your own iron stores because that nobody can eat a piece of iron, right? So it's not bioavailable. We gotta think these things through, okay? Avoid aluminum containing vaccines. All right, so this is a controversial subject. You can go to different websites. Even the CDC has vaccine inserts, and you can look at those ingredients and you can see if that's something that you want to do. Certainly the National Vaccine Information Center, that's in vic.org. You can go there and they will tell you what is in the insert as to formaldehyde, aluminum, all that kind of stuff. And so you want to avoid that if at all possible. You definitely want to make sure that if you do choose to vaccinate your children, that you are doing something to get that aluminum out, because the aluminum crosses the blood-brain barrier. It sets up in the brain and it is toxic to the brain. Now, in additional research, they have found that dementia patients have a lot of aluminum in the brain. So for whatever that's worth to you, we're all getting to be a certain age, and I certainly don't want to have that in my future. So I'm going to be really, really careful about aluminum, all right? You don't want to have, if you do get vaccinated, you don't want to have aluminum and Tylenol at the same time. Now, who's going to tell you that, right? Nobody's going to tell you. This article says that the painkiller acetaminophen, which is in the brand name Tylenol, depletes the body of glutathione. Now, glutathione is what helps you process heavy metals out of your body. So you, even though your doctor is going to tell you, get the shot, take some aspirin because you're going to be sore, you don't really want to do that because you don't want to deplete your glutathione, because it's the glutathione that moves the heavy metals out of your body. Something else that'll move the heavy metals out of your body is cilantro. So if you like cilantro, and usually this is just the magic of the body, if you like a lot of cilantro, then you probably have toxic metals in your body. It's just the way it works. Cilantro is a great chelator of heavy metals. So also is cracked cell chlorella. Not expensive, easy to have, but you have to have a lot of it. So you don't necessarily want to go to Amazon and do that because you're going to be taking 50 pills a day. You want to get something that is very, very powerful from me or someone like me if that's something that you are concerned about. So you never want to take acetaminophen with an aluminum containing medication. Other ways to support healthy detoxification is eating a wide variety of fresh fruits and vegetables, especially the dark leafy green and cruciferous vegetables. Choosing organic food over food grown with pesticides and herbicides, filtering your water, drinking green tea, and then, of course, adding those herbs to your diet. Now, why do we say filtered water? Because water has chlorine in it. Chlorine is a heavy metal. Water has fluoride in it, also a heavy metal. Your bread and your pasta have bromine in it, also a heavy metal. So we really want to make sure that we do as few grains as possible, filter our water, and if you can't afford it, you want to have a whole house filter, because you might be avoiding ingesting the water with your filters in the kitchen and on the fridge, but when you are bathing or showering, you're getting that the chloride and the fluoride in your water into your system. Because why? Because your body absorbs that as you're bathing and showering, and so that's really something that you need to be paying attention to. So what we want you to know from this takeaway is that 75 to 80% of all breast cancer is environmentally induced, right? If you have the BRCA genes, then you're going to have to be more careful about your breast health. However, just because you don't have those genes doesn't mean you're in the clear. You're in the clear when you take care of yourself and make sure that you don't have aluminum in your personal care products. Now, we do recommend regular thermography. We have a lady that comes to our clinic every 6 weeks or so to do thermography. Why do we do that? Because thermography is a heat-seeking device, and it can scan the breast tissue to see if there's anything that looks suspicious. Then if there is, we do a special protocol, and I will just tell you, probably 99% of the time that people do what we tell them to do, whatever looks suspicious in that thermogram is gone the next time they have a scan. If you do mammograms, regular mammograms, which I know is what your insurance will pay for, every time you have a mammogram, you're flooding your breast with radioactivity, and that will damage your breast. So just be wise about it. If that's what you choose to do it with the understanding that I need to do something else to get the radiation out of my breast, because we obviously don't want you to be one of the 1 in 8 women that come down with breast cancer every year. I hope you have found this informative. If you have any questions, put them in the chat and we will get back to you. It is the weekend, and I always say do self-care. Make sure that you've got some downtime. Make sure that you do something for yourself that brings you pleasure, because stress is a killer, and so we don't want to have a lot of stress. It is the weekend. Go out, enjoy yourself, and I'll see you next week.